Okay, so today we are going to work on Chapter 2 review. Chapter 2 finals review. Okay, Chapter 2 finals review, okay? You guys can follow along. Basically what we're going to do is I'm going to look at your final review and we're going to do some of those problems together. Whatever we don't do together, you are going to do for your homework tonight. So, if you look at Chapter 2, we look at Chapter 2. It says, what is the value of x in each equation? So, for number 1, let's just pick one of these equations. Doesn't really matter which one. I'm going to pick E. Okay, so 1E. I'm just going to rewrite this. It's negative 6 minus 11x over 8 equals 2. And when it says, what is the value of x, that basically is the same thing as solve for x. So, solve for x. Does anyone remember, how would you solve for x here? What would we do to get x all by itself? Any ideas? Distribute. Close. What would you distribute? What do you mean distribute? Not exactly. Okay, whenever we have a fraction, the first thing we want to do when we have fractions is get rid of the fractions. How could I get rid of this fraction? I don't want to deal with fractions. How do I make it so I don't have to deal with fractions here? It does have something to do with multiply. David? You had your hand up. Any ideas?
Divide.
You were just stretching, right? Not quite divide, Ethan. Not exactly, okay. What we want to do here is, would you agree that 2 could be a fraction? Could 2 by itself be a fraction? How would you make it into a fraction? Put it over 1. If we had over 1 and I had 2 fractions, how do you think you would solve to get rid of the fractions? Cross multiply. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to cross multiply. You're going to multiply across like this, and we're going to multiply these two across like this. Now, it doesn't matter which ones you multiply first, but if you multiply negative 6 minus 11x times 1, is it going to change anything?
No.
No, so you're just going to rewrite it. Negative 6 minus 11x. We still have an equals. What happens when you multiply 8 times 2? What do you got? 16. Now that the fractions are gone, how would we solve? Now that the fractions are gone, I'm going to get x completely by itself. Okay, so remember we have kind of like a wall here. You want to get numbers and letters on opposite sides of the fraction. So, yes, we would plus 6. That's called using the additive inverse. Okay, you would use the additive inverse. These would go away. We got negative 11x equals, what's 16 plus 6? Positive 22. And then how is the negative 11 attached to the x? By add, subtract, multiply, or divide? By multiplication. So to undo that, you divide both sides by a negative. These would go away. So we get x equals, what's 22 divided by negative 11? Negative 2. Now, is there a way that you could check your answers?
Yes.
How would you check your answers? You could plug it back in. Okay, I'm not requiring that you check your answers, but it might be a smart idea. Okay, you don't have to, but that is a really good way to check our answers. Okay, for number 2, let's look at number 2. Okay, look at number 2 on your review. We only have 4 of them, so this is going to be a pretty short day. For number 2, it says, what are the solutions to the following equations? What are the solutions to the following equations? So let's pick, let's do C. Okay, let's do C. So I'm just going to rewrite this. That's 9x plus 3x minus 2 equals 5x minus 5. I should see you writing right now. So, when we're solving, okay, what's the first thing you want to do?
Add the x or the x.
Okay, let's write some rules for solving. Okay, when we're solving, the first thing you always want to do is get rid of fractions first. Okay, so solving, first thing you want to do is get rid of fractions. And that's like what we did in number 1. Get rid of fractions. Then the next step you want to take is to combine like terms. Combine like terms. Now, is it just combine like terms on one side or on both sides?
Both.
Combine like terms on both sides. Then what do we do? So now we want to combine like terms. So 9x and 3x are like terms. Can I combine it with the 5x yet? No. Okay, remember we have like that wall. So if we add those together, 9x plus 3x gives you 12x minus 2 equals 5x minus 5. What's my next step? We want to move numbers and letters to opposite sides. So move numbers and letters to opposite sides. And then the last step is to solve. Okay? So move numbers and letters to opposite sides. So do you want to move the numbers first or the letters first? Numbers, doesn't really matter. Okay? Which one do you want to move, the -2 or the -5? The -2, so if we want to move the -2, you're going to add 2. That's called what? Using the what? Additive inverse. Thank you. So, 12x, these went away, equals 5x, -5 and +2 gives you what? -3. Okay, we still have letters, so how do I want to move the letters? Subtract the 5x. So again, that's called using the additive inverse. So 12x minus 5x gives you what? 7x equals what? -3. And then finally, how do I get x by itself? Divide by 7. That's called using what? Anyone know? That's called the multiplicative inverse. Anytime we multiply or divide, it's called the multiplicative inverse. So x will equal what? -3/7. If you can, you need to reduce that. But this one does not let you reduce it. Okay, so what if I asked you, how many solutions does this equation have? How many solutions does it have? How many answers are there? One. Okay, if you get one answer, that means it has one solution. Okay? This means there is one solution. And I'm going to write that only because on the next couple, there might not be one solution. Okay. Now, let's look at number 3. On number 3, which one do we want to pick? Which one would you like me to do for you? What are the solutions to the following equations? Okay, I heard E a couple of times, so let's do E. 3E is negative, parentheses x plus 4, equals 3 times x minus 1. And this one is asking, what are the solutions to the following equations? So, if I want to solve, what's the first thing I need to do? Distribute. What am I distributing? On this side, we're distributing a negative. It's really like a -1. And on the right side, we're distributing a 3. Don't forget, you have to distribute to all the parts in the parentheses, not just the first one. So negative times x gives you -1x. Negative times 4 is -4. Equals what? 3x minus 3. Now I'm just back to solving. So I want numbers and letters on the opposite sides of the equal sign. What would you like to move first, the numbers or the letters? Numbers, okay. Which way would you like to move them? You want to move the 3 over?
Yeah.
Okay, so add 3 to both sides. By the way, you could still get the right answer even if you moved the other one. Okay, so it doesn't really matter which sides you move each one to, just as long as you move them. Okay, so here we still have negative 1x. Negative 4 positive 3 is minus 1 equals 3x, and these went away. Now what would you move? The 1x, so what would you do to move that? You add or subtract? Add a 1x. Okay, if you add 1x, we get negative 1 equals, what's 3x plus 1x? 4x. And then finally, how do I solve for x? Divide both sides by 4. So what do I get for my answer? Negative 1 over 4 equals x. That's your answer. Anyone have questions how I did that? What's going on is probably not the question that I was hoping to hear right now. Okay, so how many solutions would you say this has? One solution. Okay, now let's do one more on number 4. Okay, let's look at number 4. Let's look at, oh, I don't know. Let's look at H. Okay, let's look at H. H on number 4 is 4 times 2x plus 1 plus 8 equals 5x plus 3x plus 9. That one's kind of crazy. 4 times 2x plus 1 plus 8 equals 5x plus 3x plus 9. So what do you think is the first thing we should do? Distribute. So when you distribute, remember, you're not distributing to that 8, just what's in the parentheses. So 4 times 2x gives you 8x. 4 times 1 is plus 4. Plus 8 equals, we still have 5x plus 3x plus 9. Then what?
Move number.
You don't want to move anything yet. We want to combine like terms on each side. Remember, these are still separate, but you do want to combine like terms. So we're going to add the 4 and the 8 on the left side, and on the right side, you're going to add the 5x and the 3x. So you don't want to move things just yet. Okay, we want to combine like terms first. Yes. So 8x plus, what's 4 plus 8? 12. 8x plus 12 equals what? 8x plus 9. Where should I move stuff? You want to move numbers or letters first? Numbers. Okay, which one do you want to move? 9. Move the 9. So subtract the 9 from both sides. Subtract 9. We got 8x plus 3 equals what? 8x. And these went away. Now what do I do?
Minus 8.
Move the 8x. We already moved numbers. Now let's move letters. So that gives you, these go away. We got 3 equals what? What's 8x minus 8x? 0. What does it mean if I get a number equals another number and it's not the same thing? What does that mean? That means no solution. Okay? That means no matter what number you plug in for x. Because remember, we're really just figuring out what does x equal. It means no matter what you plug in for x, this equation is never going to work. Okay, remember, if you get a whole number equals the same whole number, that means infinite solutions. You will get some of those, okay? Homework for tonight is to finish Chapter 2 review. It will be due tomorrow. So finish Chapter 2 review. It will be due tomorrow. That's really fast here. And you guys are excused. Can someone turn on that light for me, please?